Without a single press conference, without a leaked statement, and without a single warning shot, 5 prominent names were quietly, ruthlessly erased from the official rosters of the British royal family. There was no formal announcement from the Lord Chamberlain's office. There was no coordinated leak to friendly royal correspondents. There was only a cold, chilling silence where an influential presence used to sit. The names didn't belong to disgraced distant relatives or foreign diplomats. They belonged to Queen Camilla's inner circle, including her own biological children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, alongside 3 key associates deeply embedded within the royal network. For nearly 20 years, the Parker Bowles name enjoyed a comfortable, soft landing access to the inner corridors of the British monarchy. VIP event passes, patronages, advisory roles, and quiet invitations behind closed doors. But in early 2026, that invisible infrastructure was systematically dismantled overnight. And the part of this story that should send an absolute chill down your spine isn't just that it happened, it's who ordered it and who secretly signed off on it. The ruthless execution was carried out by Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, the ultimate guardian of royal duty. But Princess Anne did not act as a rogue operative. She had the direct, personal, and explicit approval of King Charles III himself. Think about what that actually means. A reigning monarch just sanctioned a quiet, institutional strike against his own wife's immediate family. A husband gave the green light to strip his queen's children of their royal proximity. Inside the high-ceilinged drawing rooms of St. James's Palace and Clarence House, nobody knows how to speak about this betrayal out loud yet. The silence is deafening. But in the ruthless arena of royal power dynamics, silence isn't an absence of news, it is a declaration of war. To understand the sheer magnitude of this purge, you have to understand exactly who lost what. Tom Parker Bowles is perhaps the most visible face of Camilla's side of the family. A high-profile food critic, television personality, and author, Tom spent 2 decades building a public career that appeared independent on the surface. But let's be entirely honest, that independence was heavily fueled by royal adjacency. It was backed by access to rooms that money cannot buy, introductions to high society power players, and the unspoken prestige that comes with being the Queen Consort's son. That access didn't require a formal title. It existed in the soft, unwritten privileges of palace life. The ability to be waved through security gates. The inclusion on exclusive guest lists. The unspoken understanding among elite networks that Tom Parker Bowles was royal adjacent. Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter, moved through the palace with even quieter precision. Less interested in the media spotlight, Laura built strong, silent ties with palace staff, patronage boards, and aristocratic circles. She benefited from the exact kind of institutional goodwill that flows naturally to a monarch's stepchildren. Along with Tom and Laura, 3 additional figures within the extended Parker Bowles network individuals holding soft advisory roles, patronages, and ceremonial access were quietly wiped from official registries. These rosters don't update themselves. Algorithms don't decide who stays and who goes inside Buckingham Palace. A human hand has to open the ledger. A senior royal has to weigh the political cost, look at the names, and make the call. Princess Anne looked at those names, decided their time was up, and took her red pen to the paper. When you lose your place on these rosters, doors don't slam shut with a loud bang. They simply stop opening. The calls take a little longer to be returned. The invitations to private palace functions quietly dry up. The invisible web of protection that took Camilla 20 years to weave around her children was unspooled in a matter of minutes. Why Princess Anne? To understand why the Princess Royal became the executioner of the Parker Bowles family, You have to understand the unbreakable moral code she lives by. Anne is not a woman who engages in messy domestic politics. For over 50 years, she has earned her reputation as the hardest working member of the royal family by doing one simple thing: staying in her lane, doing the work, and utterly refusing to engage in self-serving drama. When Anne moves, she moves on pure, unadulterated principle. Look at her own children, Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall. When Peter and Zara were born, Anne made a revolutionary, deliberate decision. She refused to give them royal titles. She refused to place them on the royal payroll. She insisted they build their own lives, earn their own money, and survive on their own merit without using the crown as a financial crutch. Peter built a successful career in sports management. Zara became an Olympic equestrian medalist. Neither of them relies on the taxpayer or palace patronage to justify their existence. So when Princess Anne looked at the Parker Bowles family floating around the edges of the crown, enjoying the prestige of royal proximity, without bearing any of the heavy, agonizing burden of public duty, it violated every single value she holds dear. From Anne's perspective, if her own biological children were not allowed to feed off the institutional prestige of the monarchy, Camilla's children certainly weren't going to. Anne was there for all of it. She watched from the inside when Charles and Camilla's affair tore the monarchy apart in the 1990s. She watched Diana's tragic downfall. She watched the institution suffer catastrophic brand damage that took decades to repair, while Anne accepted Camilla as her brother's wife out of pragmatic reality. She never accepted the idea that Camilla's extended family was entitled to a free ride on the royal gravy train. She watched. She picked her moment with lethal precision. And in early 2026, when the monarchy came under severe public pressure following Prince Andrew's high-profile arrest, the atmosphere inside the palace shifted dramatically. The public was demanding absolute accountability, zero nepotism, and a total cleanup of royal parasites. Anne recognized that the moment had finally arrived. She didn't act out of petty jealousy or personal hatred. She acted because, in her world, the institution always comes first, and anyone drawing benefit from the crown without earning it is a threat that must be eliminated. Now we arrive at the most chilling element of this entire crisis: King Charles III. How does a husband look at his wife, a woman he fought for 40 years to be with, a woman he dragged through public outrage to crown as queen and secretly authorize the institutional purging of her children? To understand Charles's decision, you have to look at the severe reality of his current life. At 77 years old, navigating ongoing cancer treatments and facing the undeniable reality of his own mortality, King Charles is no longer playing short-term politics. He is obsessively focused on one thing: legacy. Charles watched the Prince Andrew scandal explode in February 2026. He saw how quickly a single family member's greed and arrogance can destroy centuries of monarchical prestige in a single 24-hour news cycle. He realized that the public mood toward non-working royals and freeloading relatives was at an all-time dangerous high. Enter Prince William. Over the past 12 months, William's authority inside the palace has expanded exponentially. As Charles fights his health battles, William has effectively taken control of the long-term strategic direction of the firm. William's vision for the future is clear: a radical, stripped-back, highly accountable monarchy with zero tolerance for royal adjacency. William made it crystal clear to his father that individuals drawing on palace prestige without a direct, formal role were an unacceptable risk. The Parker Bowles presence was, in William's eyes, a massive loose end that needed to be severed before it triggered a public backlash. King Charles found himself caught in a terrifying vice between his love for Camilla and his duty to ensure William inherits a stable, uncompromised throne. So Charles executed a masterstroke of political cowardice and brilliant strategy combined. He used Princess Anne as his human shield. Instead of having a brutal, explosive confrontation with Camilla across the breakfast table at Clarence House, Charles quietly gave Anne his sovereign approval to carry out the purge. When the names were erased, Charles could hold his hands up and pretend it was an administrative decision carried out by the Princess Royal as part of a routine institutional cleanup. It gave him complete plausible deniability. It was clean, it was quiet, and it was devastatingly effective. Charles didn't fall out of love with Camilla, but he demonstrated, with cold-blooded clarity, that when forced to choose between his wife's family and the survival of the crown, they'd win every single time. Inside the private quarters of Clarence House, the atmosphere is described by insiders as a state of contained, toxic fury. Queen Camilla is a woman who survived 20 years of global vilification to reach the throne. She is resilient, sharp, and fiercely protective of her bloodline. But this strike hit her from an angle she never saw coming. Camilla was watching Prince William. She was watching the press fallout from Prince Andrew. She was carefully monitoring her public image and reinforcing her position. She was looking for threats in front of her she never thought to look over her shoulder at Princess Anne. What makes this loss so unbearable for Camilla is the horrifying realization of how isolated she has truly become within the palace walls. Look at the chessboard around her. Her sister Annabel Elliot was already quietly removed from the Duchy of Cornwall payroll the moment Prince William took ownership of the estate. Her friendship with Sarah Ferguson, which Camilla stubbornly maintained, has turned into a radioactive liability following the fresh wave of Epstein document releases in early 2026. William has made it known that anyone associating with the Ferguson faction is on the wrong side of palace history. Meanwhile, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has returned to full institutional power following her cancer recovery. Kate is no longer just a supportive figurehead. She is operating as a formidable co-strategist alongside William. Public affection for Kate is at an all-time high, giving her immense internal leverage. And Kate is completely aligned with William and Anne's vision of a streamlined, ruthless monarchy. Camilla looks around the royal table and sees no true allies left. Her husband sanctioned the move against her children. Her stepson is actively reshaping the court to eliminate her family's footprint. Her stepdaughter-in-law holds the ultimate public popularity. And her sister-in-law just held the pen that crossed Tom and Laura off the books. The circle around Queen Camilla has shrunk to absolute zero. She remains queen consort, she retains her crown and her ceremonial power, but her ability to project influence on behalf of her own family has been utterly obliterated. The silence from Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes in the wake of this purge is the ultimate proof of how thoroughly they were outmaneuvered. There were no angry leaks to the press. There were no subtle complaints passed through friendly journalists. Tom published his standard upbeat food reviews as if nothing had happened. Why? Because they know the rules of the game. To complain publicly about losing unearned royal access would only prove Princess Anne's point to the world, that they believed they were entitled to special treatment simply because of who their mother married. They were forced to swallow the humiliation in total public silence. This silent execution marks a point of no return for the British monarchy. The old days, the era where distant cousins, stepchildren, and well-connected friends could quietly profit off royal proximity, are officially dead. Princess Anne and Prince William have drawn a hard, bloody line in the sand. Under the new order, you either earn your place through lifelong, grueling public service, or your name gets wiped from the register without hesitation. King Charles has made his peace with the decision. Princess Anne has moved on to her next engagement without looking back. And Queen Camilla is left sitting in the gilded halls of Buckingham Palace wearing the crown of England, while knowing that behind closed doors, her family was quietly shown the exit. The message sent to every palace insider is crystal clear. No matter who you are, no matter who you are married to, and no matter how close you think you are to the king in the modern House of Windsor, nobody is safe from the purge.